Happy Wednesday, FlowChat Connector. Hope you're having a great day today. Sean back at you here with another FlowChat Sales Training high-ticket tune-up. And today we're going to discuss all things your audience. If we understand how they think, how they work, guess what? We can put solutions together that are going to make it really easy for them to say yes to us. Stay tuned. Well, what's happening, FlowChat Connector? Sean back at you here with another high-ticket tune-up for your FlowChat Sales Training tip of the day. This is a big one. I'm excited about it. We're going to dive into some psychology, right? I always talk about this all the time, and I think it's just a really good thing to focus on. And so what we're going to learn about today is understanding your audience. A couple of things we need to talk about. I'm not going to go deep into like sales training specifics, tips, and techniques and everything like that. Rather, I'm going to stay kind of a little bit more surfacey level and give you a graphic that I think is going to be really helpful and powerful for you to understand this entire concept. So let's get to it. Here is a really, really cool graphic. It's called the Iceberg of Decision Drivers, created by SalesBrain organization. They are a company that focuses specifically on psychology of sales, why it works so well. And when I saw this graphic, I was really kind of struck because I think when most sales professionals get started into sales conversations, they stay too surfacey. They stay on the top side of the iceberg in the picture that you can see here. And I think what's important to remember is that the main decision drivers of your prospects come when it gets closer to, again, if you're looking at this graphic on the left-hand side, the primal brain makes the most decisions in your world, in anybody's world. And I think what's important to remember about this, your first message has to target the elimination of fears, threats, risks, and only those fears, threats, and risks that your primal brain actually realizes. And here's why, right? So first and foremost, just some pro tips, the keys to understanding all of this. Number one, we never assume. So in a conversation, if someone says, ooh, that's awesome, that sounds like a like or a want or maybe even a need. It doesn't sound like, ooh, that's hurting me, I need to get rid of it. And that's the big barrier between where I believe traditional salespeople fall down and pro salespeople stand up. And when we assume things, we just assume that someone's going to buy it. So it sounds like in a sales conversation, you do this presentation for somebody and they say, oh, that's amazing, I love this, I want this, I can't wait to get my hands on it, I really like it. And then you go back to your office and you tell your boss, you're like, oh my gosh, this guy's going to buy this thing, or you get really excited because they're going to buy from you, and then you never hear from them again, right? And it's because in the sales conversation, the likes, the wants, and the needs of your prospect shift. See, that's the big secret that not many people know or even think about. The reason we don't assume and we ask more questions is because likes and wants, in fact, there's a statistic here, likes and wants are poor predictors of buying behaviors. Likes and wants are vague, conscious interpretations of what we think we need to be happy and safe, and they shift, and it shifts shortly in a quick period. Like, think about yourself for a second. What is your behavior when it comes down, and maybe you learn a new sport? Let's talk there for a second. When you like the sport, why? Because there's something that draws you to it. You want to play more of the sport. But then what happens is when something comes along and says, hey, you can't go play that sport because you need to pay the mortgage, we can't go play the sport anymore, we have to go back over here. And so that's the big difference between likes, wants, and needs, and then the shift to responsibility of, oh man, if I don't make my mortgage payment, I'm fearful that I'm not going to have a place to sleep. And so this is why we never assume. In the sales conversation, we always want to ask the questions and get clear. Next thing is this: when you're in a sales conversation, listen 70% of the time, only talk 30% of the time. Okay. And in fact, in an hour's conversation, the exact amount you should only speak is about 17 minutes. And so for the rest of the time, you should be listening intently to what your prospect says. So in your next sales conversation, this is a cool tip for you, take a stopwatch and just click it when you're talking, click it on, click it off when you stop talking, and do that the whole conversation. See if you can time it. Another way to do it is just to look at a Zoom recording of a call that you've had and then count timer, because you'll understand very quickly. You're like, oh my God, I talk way more than 50% or 40% or 70%, whatever. Try to get to that 70-30 where you're listening 70% of the time, talking 30% of the time, because clients will typically close themselves. And lastly, before I dive into a little more of this, solving fear and anxiety will close deals the fastest. So the traditional salesperson, I'm guilty of this. I did it for a lot of years, but until I understand this concept, I never really started being super effective in sales. Learning to go deep with a prospect, get to the bottom of that iceberg as much as you can. And here's kind of what the conversation sounds like or ensues about. It's, hey, where are you trying to take your business? Oh, I want to do this. I like the idea of this. I need to grow my business to this, like, want, and need, right? So that's what they're focused on. That's fantastic. That's where all conversations should start. Hey, well, what's holding you back? Now I'm moving into pain. Okay. Oh, well, this thing's holding me back. Oh my gosh, tell me more about that, right? If someone says this is holding me back, don't just write it down and consider it the fear and the anxiety that you got to solve, because that's not the real problem. And in fact, all the sales training I've ever took, that everyone always says every prospect has about 3 intellectual smoke screens they'll throw at you that you have to get through before you really start getting into that core meat of pain, fear, and anxiety, right? And the difference is, I think what's important to understand is, as I mentioned, this is the deeper you get into this iceberg, the deeper you start speaking to someone's primal brain, faster the decision will be made on their end to want to work with you. And so if you can have this conversation at a very deep level and get to the fear that they have, and then even the anxiety that they have. Now, here's the example. When we started our high ticket sales agency, we went and we interviewed about 40 or 50 entrepreneurs. And what they said to us is, they said, Sean, Chris, I don't want to sell anymore. Okay, why not? Well, I need more revenue in my business. Now you see, like, I like the idea of a sales force. Prospect says, I like the idea of a sales. Sean, I don't want to sell anymore. I need to build a sales team. Okay, tell me more about that. Well, my revenue is not where it needs to be, and sales calls drain me. That's the pain that they're feeling. This is the indicator. So instead of just settling there, like most traditional salespeople would settle just in that part of the conversation, and we say, well, hang on a second. Like, can you tell me more about that? Like, be more specific. What do you actually mean? How long has this been going on? Oh, well, I haven't been able to hit my revenue in 5 months. Oh man. So now we're getting into this pain and we shift into fear. This is where the emotional impact kind of starts to really hit, because they say, I haven't hit my revenue goals for 5 months. Oh man, now it's becoming a fear, because what happens when you don't hit your revenue goals for 5 months? Now we're getting into that fear of, my business could go under. Oh, right? And then, oh man, well, what have you tried to do to fix that? How did it work? How much have you spent on this? And you see these questions are directly focused on the fear part of that conversation. And then if you really want to, you can go deeper. Most people can stop at fear and close a bunch of deals, but if you're going to get into that anxiety part, how do you do that? Well, if we're having the conversation around the fears, hey, I tried this and I tried that and it didn't work, and I spent all this money on this to try to grow my revenues, and I just know that I need a sales team and I don't have the expertise to do it. Okay, great. Here's how to hire, onboard, and train a sales team. And so we did that with our high ticket clients, but it didn't solve the problem because we weren't addressing anxiety. We were addressing fear. We stopped the fear. That's fine. Took away the pain. That's awesome. Now the entrepreneur is like, yes, I have a sales team. And then what happened? They came back to us and they said, Sean, thank you for the sales team, but now I can't sleep at night. Anxiety. I can't sleep at night because I feel like an imposter because I don't have a system to fill their calendars. Now we're in anxiety, because this is a problem that people have, like imposter syndrome. If you've ever experienced it, it's a great example of anxiety issue. Right? That anxiety of you going to bed at night thinking, if you feel like you have imposter syndrome, and by the way, it's in your head probably, where you go to like, hey, I'm a hollow shell, I'm fake, I did it. If that's what you're thinking, that's anxiety. Okay, so you've always felt that before. And I think it's important just to remember that solving that anxiety and that fear for your prospects is what's truly going to not only close the deal the fastest for you, but it will also retain those clients the longest. Why? Because they understand that you deeply understand what they're going through and the problems. And one of my coaches, Alex Sharfin, he said it best to me. He said, Sean, if you can define the problem that your prospect has even better than they can, what's going on in their mind, that automatically triggers them to believe that you have the 100% solution, and they will buy from you each and every time. So that's what I wanted to end on today, and just let you know, like, hey, this is the true way to truly understand your audience. Don't just stay at that surface level. Dive into pain, understand the impact that pain is having in their world, which is fear, and then drive it even deeper down into that anxiety level of solving that root core problem that's actually going to truly set your prospect free or your new client free. And with that said, my friends, you've just been tuned up. This is a good one. This is a deep one. I hope this was powerful for you, because I know a lot of people don't talk about this stuff, and this is the truth, just really, really making a big dent in closing a lot of deals. So if you need more, drop a comment below. Let me know. Book a call with our team. We'll talk through all of this stuff. This is what we're specialists at. So with that said, I love your face. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.